So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a great pleasure to be with you all again at a Hyperloop event. Even better if I get my tie straight. Of course, this is, I think, our second big Hyperloop conference in Europe, and quite a lot has happened in the world since Frankfurt last autumn. But the need for Hyperloop has not gone away. I think it's grown, if anything. And of course, that is because Hyperloop has the great potential to be both a low carbon, but also, and I think this is where things have changed since last year, a low energy mode. And we know with the energy crisis, with the impact of Ukraine, that reducing our energy consumption as well as going carbon neutral are absolutely vital for a strong, sustainable future. So for that reason, the Commission continues to look with great interest at Hyperloop, not only for its transport potential, but of course also because of its industrial potential. We would like Europe to be at the heart of a developing Hyperloop manufacturing service industry with export potential worldwide. And of course also, and you've seen loads of innovation at Trans this week, we also want to see how we can work together with Hyperloop also for spillover benefits from some of the technologies developed. For example, the traffic management systems, etc., probably also have application to existing rail, maybe to areas such as maglev. So there's a potential mix of technologies coming out of Hyperloop that we really want to support. And with that in mind, the Commission, when we adopted our so-called Smart and Sustainable Mobility Strategy, which was just over a year ago, we included Hyperloop in it quite prominently as something that, is not quite here yet, but that we really needed to focus on to develop as part of that mixture. We included it in the TEN-T, in the Trans-European Network Strategy, again, not as something which we are saying we will build Hyperloop tomorrow, but as something which we say is coming. And when it comes, we want the potential to be there to use the TEN-Ts to support its development. Of course, Hyperloop is there primarily to deliver the Fit for 55 package. It's there to deliver the 55% reduction in emissions by 2030. And of course, 2030 is now barely 7 years away. So that does give us a challenge with Hyperloop, and one which I think a lot of today will be spent discussing, which is how to move from the great technologies that you're all developing to something which we can rapidly put into service as a transport mode for Europe and for the world. And of course that is vital as well when it comes to the next step that we, the Commission, want to take, which is to work with you to create a regulatory framework for Hyperloop. As you know from our past discussions, this is something which many of you have come to us to say is actually pretty vital to launching Hyperloop to the world, to have a credible regulatory framework within which you can do your planning, which you can then also take to financial backers and say, look, this is real, this is something that actually we have the framework to build. But for us to help you with that, and our intention is that we will be launching legislation for that next year, we need also to be able to address the sceptics among some member states, the sceptics even in some places in the Commission who tell us, why do you need to do this now? Isn't this all sort of science fiction? Isn't this coming in 10 years' time? Can't you just leave them to it and we'll think about it if and when it becomes necessary? And if your answer to that is still no, we need that as something with which we can actually build Hyperloop now, then we need to give the arguments to the sceptics to show what we're going to do, why we're going to do it, and how we're going to do it. That is going to be a big challenge, so I invite us also to spend quite a lot of time today thinking about how we make that the reality. But the other thing that, of course, we need to do with Hyperloop is ensure that we are developing all the test facilities to make it that rapid reality that I've said is vital if we're to use Hyperloop as part of our climate change, as part of our low energy strategy. So again, I think the challenge and the great thing about bringing everybody together today is to see where we can further join up on that technological development, where it would be useful or appropriate for member states, for the EU, to give support to the development of research facilities, of testing facilities, and to see again how we work with you to deliver that. Because I think we have to be clear, of course with Ukraine our short-term focus is just on getting through this winter on energy security. But as we've seen with the very extreme climatic events in many parts of the world this year and over the past few years, climate change is an accelerating reality. And if we don't also meet that challenge, then we're going to have all sorts of very negative geopolitical consequences from that in the future as well. So we think Hyperloop could be, should be part of that future, but we need to make that future the reality, not in 20, 30 years' time, but by the end of this decade. So I look forward to working with you today on delivering that goal. Thank you very much.